Have you been converted to a paper planner user yet? Whether you are on the fence or you've recently purchased one, or maybe you've been using one for years, this episode is going to be a fun one. I'm grabbing my absolute favorite paper planner and I am giving you 14 ideas of things to track in your paper planner that are pretty fun and outside of the typical things to track. And they have even helped me build consistency, and I think they will help you as well. Plus, when you are using your paper planner in a way that is fun and exciting, it will no longer get forgotten about a few months after the year begins. And then months down the road, you find your dusty old planner somewhere shoved in the back of a bookshelf. That is not the case. Let's pull out your paper planner and figure out how to get excited about it and enjoy it for the year ahead.
Are you ready to stop the chaos, the stress, the overwhelm that's filling your life? I'm Renae Matt, and together you and I are going to build simple routines that are going to change your life. When you put these habits into practice, you're going to be able to organize your life in a way where you can be there for your family, pay off your debt, save money, your house can stay organized, you don't have to stress about what's for dinner, and you still get time for yourself. So without further ado, let's get started. Welcome to the Routine Advantage Podcast.
I'm excited about this one. This one's going to be fun because when you can get really excited about your paper planner, it just makes life so much easier because you have a system within your planner that just works. And one of the things that I love about the way that I use my paper planner is that I have found a system that allows me to stick with digital for a lot of things, but then I am able to use a paper planner to kind of map out my day and do more of the flow. And my paper planner has become more of the fun aspect of my planning process and not so much the like nitty gritty details of my schedule. That's in my Google Calendar. So in a paper planner, you might think like, okay, you like, what do you track? You track like the typical things. You've got your monthly items in a monthly layout. You've got a weekly layout. Some planners have a daily spread as well, and it just depends on what kind of planner you have. The one that I use, I absolutely love. I used it. This year was my first year using it. And when I tell you that I have tried to use so many different planners in the past and they would always go to the wayside and I would not continue using them. I'd get a good chunk of the way through the year and then I would just lose it and it would it would fall to the wayside and I would never pull it back up and it just did not build a consistent habit. And a lot of times it's just because it wasn't doing exactly what I needed it to do. A lot of times they were too detailed and it's things I didn't want, so then I felt like I wasn't like completing the task of making sure everything was filled out, and it was just a really weird flow. Like it just didn't work well for me, and I wanted to use a paper planner, but I just didn't think that my brain and the way that I work could handle it. However, I have figured out how it works well for what I do, and I am happy to say that we are now into the middle of December and I'm still using it, and I've been using it since I think November or December last year is when I started setting it up, and I am still using it, and I still love it, and I already purchased my one for 2025, and it is absolutely gorgeous. So if you want the planner, before I go into the details, if you want the same planner that I use, I do actually have an affiliate code, so I would get a portion. It doesn't cost you any extra, but I would get a small commission if you purchase using my link. So if you decide that you want the same planner as me, you can go to HoratioPrinting.com, and that's Horatio with a C, and it's HoratioPrinting.com. And then when you get there, use my code Renae15, and that's RENAE15. And if you want the exact same one I have, I use the lay flat version in a vertical layout. And I like the sleekness of the black, so it's like a black, like, leather look, and it's just beautiful. It's very, professional and sleek, but they do have, like, a blush and white marble that is absolutely gorgeous. I think that's the one that my mom just said she ordered because she used it last year as well and loved it. And I just love everything about it. It's very clean. It has super thick pages so that your ink doesn't bleed through. It has a lot of space for you to actually have that structure, but it also allows you to do all of these fun other things in there that we're going to be talking about today. It's got lots of, space on the actual pages with the margins in the weekly layout, in the monthly layout. It has pages at the end of the month. It has pages in the back, and it allows you a lot of flexibility to use your paper planner in a way that just works really well for you. So, some of the things that I am going to be sharing in this episode are things that I personally do. And then some are going to be just ideas that I've heard about and I think are really cool. And you might be interested, even though I am not currently tracking those. Maybe I will in the future. You just never know. I have a lot of flexibility in there. So, a quick note is when I'm talking about a paper planner and the method that I use, I have talked about this in the past. So if you want, you can go back and listen to previous episodes when I'm talking about day stacks and time blocking and how I set up my planner and weekly planning. You can actually search all of my previous episodes and use some of those keywords. If you go into our Facebook community, it's facebook.com/groups/ the Routine Advantage community. And pinned at the top of the group is an episode library. That is the only place that you can get this library right now. And when you go in there, you can actually use the search function to search for those keywords and you can bring up all the previous episodes rather than having to scroll through and find them. So that is an option if you are looking for those types of episodes. But basically, what I do is I have a Google Calendar and that holds like my time commitments. That holds my meetings, my events, appointments, if I'm out of town, things like that. That holds my more time sensitive events. Then I have my paper planner that is more of my flow. This allows me to plan out the week. It allows me to put in my day stacks. It allows me to put in my 5 foundational routines throughout the week. It allows me to just organize the flow of my day and my week. And it is a spot that I can put my tasks and things like that. So I absolutely love the way that I've figured out how it works in my brain. And that is just, it's just my favorite. And I've been able to to keep up with it. So if you've ever struggled keeping up with a paper planner, maybe that's why you just have not found the method that works well for you, and maybe this one is something that works well for you. So when I am planning out my monthly layout, a quick just example of what I do in my monthly layout is an overview of like birthdays, anniversaries, events, vacations. There are no details. All the details and the actual time commitments are in my Google Calendar. This is just giving me that like bird's eye view of my month. I might change how I lay this out in 2025 based on some of these ideas I'm going to give you because there are a lot of good ideas and you can really customize it to what you want and what works for you. And then in my weekly layout, that's where I'm doing my day stacks to like organize that flow of my week. And then I'm putting in any priority tasks, my like household tasks that I'm pulling from my annual task list, things like that, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. My 5 foundational routines that I plug in there. That's my morning routine, my meal planning routine, my daily 7 home routine, my movement routine, and my budget routine. So I'm making sure all of those have some sort of touch point throughout the week to help me stay organized and on track with how I have created the framework in my life. So that is kind of a quick overview of what I do with my planner. But now these are like 14 things that you can track in your paper planner that are outside of those typical things that I just mentioned. So, number one are goals. And this is any goal that you have. These can be personal goals, they can be business goals, they could also be marriage goals. And if you have not set up marriage goals yet, go back to episode 45. That is setting marriage goals and creating a roadmap and routine to help you reach them. That one, like what we have done there, we are going to be repeating again this year. It has been like such a good experience. And so I highly encourage you to do that, especially as we're ending the year and you might be looking to create some goals in 2025. So, when you are creating these goals, maybe you have them on your monthly spread and you're writing your goal dates. Maybe you have them in your weekly spread to actually be tracking what you're doing with those goals. Maybe you're doing it in the back pages of your planner. If you have the same planner as me, there's lots of blank pages back there that you can get really creative. I grabbed a bunch of like washi tape and stickers and some like rulers and made like grids. And I just got really creative and sat down and had a cup of coffee last year and spread it all out on my dining room table. And I was listening to podcasts. Sometimes it was just music, sometimes it was quiet. I also did it when I was just watching some of my favorite shows and Christmas movies because I was doing it in December last year. And it was so enjoyable. And you can just like create what you want to create. And if you're not, super creative, keep it super basic. Do lists, do grids, do whatever you want to do. You just want to think about what you're tracking and what you'd like to track. And then the second thing that you could track in there are your dates. This one was part of our marriage goal was to do dates. And we had actually arranged that we were going to do monthly dates that were like scheduled dates on the second Tuesday of every month. And then we took turns having to plan date night. So it was never like, oh, what are we going to do? And then we just kind of mutually decide to stay home and watch a movie instead. We were running into that. And so what we ended up doing was like, we can commit to getting out of the house once a month. We always feel like we are running on weekends and everything. So it's always like, we really appreciate being home. But that was something that we wanted to take the initiative to actually go out and do. And it worked really well. And I had created, a spread of our marriage goals in the back of my planner. And then we tracked it and we like tracked where we were going and what we did each month. So I can actually look back in my planner for this year and see everything we did on those date nights. And it's just really fun memories to go back and look at. And we actually hit a lot of those marriage goals that we had set for the year. And if we hadn't taken the time to do that, we might not have done a lot of the things that we got to do this year, which was really fun. Even if you didn't plan it out like that, you could totally just have a page and journal down your dates and when you go on dates, like do the date and then what you did and maybe like a little sentence on what or like if you had fun or what experience you had or whatever you want to think about it and just track those dates. It's just kind of fun. And you could do it with a spouse, a significant other, or you could do it with kids or anything like that too. Like if you're going out with your sister, if you have sister dates, track those. Like that would be fun. Number three, we have habits, and this is like really helps to build consistency. And it could be a Bible study habit, gym, making sure you're taking your medication or supplements. It could be hitting a water goal, any of the habits that you want in your life. This is a spot that you can track them. I love tracking habits. And I was never a habit tracker before, but this year I found a very strong appreciation for it. One thing that I did find that was really helpful for me, I love seeing the visual and actually tracking it in my paper planner, but I don't necessarily always keep up with that every day. And sometimes I was kind of forgetting a little bit of what I was tracking. So I ended up downloading an app on my phone, and I'm currently using an iPhone, so this is the app on there, but I think they have similar ones on Android as well. But mine is called it's called the Day Stamp app. And don't get this confused with the day stack that I talk about. This is different. It's Day Stamp, all one word, and it's basically a habit tracker. And I am able to put a widget on my phone, and I can actually just like tap it with I have set up my goals of what I'm trying to, have for my daily habits. And on the days that I complete them, I can just tap that item on the list and it crosses it out. And then I can get these reports and these views to see everything that I've accomplished, how consistent I've been over time. And what I've found that is really helpful, I don't like doubling up the work, but it is helpful to do that on my phone because it's really quick and easy and I see it on my phone so I can just click it at the end of the night as soon as I am done and have completed what I have completed that day. And then usually at my weekly planning process in my planner, that's when I sit down and I actually look at my habit tracker and I fill in all of the little check boxes for the habits that I had that week because I'm still tracking them and I can now see them in a really visual layout. And there's something about like writing it and it works really well for me. So that is just something you can try if you have been trying to do trackers and you just have a hard time staying consistent with it. That has worked amazingly for me. So that's an idea, and you don't have to use the habit tracker I use, but it is really useful. Okay, so number 4. Oh, man, I need to kinda speed up on these. Okay, number 4 is the annual task list. This one I absolutely love as well. I'm loving a lot of things in this episode. So, if you have not heard of the annual task list that I talk about, it is in episode 48, and basically it is outside of your daily 7 home routine. These are all of the extra tasks, and it's a way to organize all of the additional things that need to be done from like home cleaning tasks, house maintenance, car maintenance. Maybe it's a cleaning schedule. All these different things. You have the options to, or the option to track them. And basically, you're creating a list of all these different things that are on your plate so you can get them out of your head and on a list and then you have columns from January to December, and you can highlight each cell under the month that you are hoping to complete it. But then when you actually complete it, you go back in and you do an X. And when you're doing that, what I'd like to do is in the back of my planner, I created this whole annual task list and I would like to do something similar. It was very time consuming the way that I did it, but I really liked having it in there. So I'm going to kind of play around if it's better to be in my planner or if it's better to be in like a spreadsheet or whatever it is. But I loved having it in my planner. It made me really accountable to it and really on top of it. I didn't forget to go check a spreadsheet. So that was very helpful. But basically, it is this list, and then when I was planning out each month, I would take a Post-it note, and I would, like, scroll down that list, and anything that was highlighted for, say, January, if I'm planning for January, anything that was highlighted for January, I would write on that little Post-it note, and I would bring it to the month that I was in. And then when I'm planning out my week, I would just take a couple of items off that Post-it note, and those have become my priorities for the week. And then I'm able to complete them. And it really helps to just break everything up into very uh, easy to do steps where you're still getting everything done. It's just not overwhelming anymore because you don't actually have to think about when all these things need to be accomplished. You can just do them when it's time to do them, and you only have a couple things to do at a time. It's just super helpful in staying on top of things and feeling like you have some time and control back in your day and not feeling so frazzled and pulled in all directions. All right, number 5 is projects. Now, this one is super fun because you can pretty much map out any project you have. If you are redecorating a room, if you are building something in your business, which I am doing that, and I have used a 2-page spread for mapping out what I'm doing, and that's just a little sneak peek. And there's more coming very soon, so keep an eye out for more information. It's not coming incredibly soon, but I will have more information soon. So that is just a little tidbit there. Um, and then you can just use this your paper planner. I totally lost my train of thought there. You can use your paper planner to map out a project. You can use those blank pages so that it stays with you in your planner. You could also use your calendar for this if you are mapping something out in your actual like monthly spread, maybe. There's a lot of different options. So if you've never thought about like mapping out your project in your planner, that is maybe something to consider. Number 6 is your cycle. Now, this obviously only works if you're a woman, but tracking your cycle is so critical. And sometimes, like, you can use apps and they're nice to see, but sometimes, like, it just hits different when you can see your entire year at once. And this is, again, something I did in the back of my planner. I took time and I made a grid and I did the months, and then I made like a little, key code on what each, like however I filled that box out, if I did, a little triangle, or if I filled in the whole thing, or if whatever I did in there, I made like a little code that I knew because I was creating the code and what I wanted to track. And then at the top of the pages, I created that, grid chart and started tracking it. And then below on the bottom half of those two-page spread, I did health notes. And that is something that is actually number 7. So I can kind of combine these two. And basically I tracked my cycle. So I was still tracking the cycle in the app. Now again, it is doubling up that information, but I really wanted to see it in a different visual format. But tracking it on my phone is much easier and quicker, and then I don't forget to go into my planner and do it. So that did work for me. But you have to decide what works for you. But I was able to track it all, in that grid, in that like chart format, and then do health notes on the bottom. So if something weird was happening, or if I went to the doctor, if I had any tests and found out any information, I was putting it in those health notes just to write them down. So I can go back and look at this and see, what was actually happening if I ever want to go back and look in this year of what was happening in my life. And then number 8 is a gratitude list or a praise report. If you get the same planner as me, there is one of these pages in the back of each month, and they call it a praise report, but it's basically like you can do a gratitude list, you can do anything that you want to write in here, and it's basically just positive things. And it could be something that happened to you, something that you accomplished, something that you are just grateful for and you've noticed. You can do so many things, but it's really a really cool activity to do at the end of the month, to kind of think back in the month of all the cool things that happened and things that you're proud of, and just things that you want to say something positive about. It is really cool to look back, and then you're not focusing on the negative or things that are not working out to the way, or like the way that you want them to over the month, especially if it's a hard month. It's just a way to really like focus on all the positives, and I have really loved this practice of going in and doing that. So that is something that's really cool to do in your planner. Number 9 is a list of books you'd like to read, or maybe books you have read. You could even do like a rating system and keep track of all these things. So if you're a big reader, or even if you're not a reader, if you want to, maybe it's podcasts you want to listen to, or events you want to go to, or speakers you want to see, things like that, go ahead and track those in your planner. And then you have more of like a system to look at what you have coming up when you are ready to attend or listen to something else. Then you can go to your list and be like, okay, what's on my list that I have been interested in, so you don't forget about them when it comes time and you have open availability to do so. But you also can track, whether or not you enjoyed it, and you can make recommendations to friends if they're asking, what you think about books that they should read that you've already read. And it might just be kind of fun to track everything that you have done throughout the year. So you can look back at previous years and see if you want to do that if you keep your planners. Number 10 is meal plans. Now, this you could do in your monthly spread and just, do your whole month at a time. I really like planning per week because then I can use up what is in the fridge and do that inventory before we create our meals. But you could do it however you want. So you could do it in your weekly spread. You could do it the way I do it. We do it in a like a hanging wall calendar, but you could totally do this right in your um, planner when you're planning out your week, and then transfer it to the wall calendar for the rest of your family so they know. And then you just kind of have that in your planner. So if you're looking at your planner and you're not at home to look at what is for dinner, then maybe this is a good spot to take a look and see what you're having so you can kind of mentally be prepared to prep that when you get home. Number 11 is to track your spending or no spending days. So a lot of planners have a budget, tracker in them. Now the Dream Planner does not, and I actually really like that because it doesn't feel like wasted space because I have a different system to track our budget. However, if you don't and you want to use the your paper planner for this, you could do it on in that monthly spread. You could do it in the back pages and create your budget there, whatever you want to do. So you could do that, but what I'm talking about is like tracking spending days or no spending days. So if you have a goal, like maybe a savings goal, which you could also track in your planner, and that's not even on my list. So there's a bonus one for you to track your savings goals. I guess I did put goals, so maybe it was savings goals in there. But you could track on the days that you have no spending. So it's like a little like check mark achievement that you did not spend any money that day on, maybe it's the monthly spread that you do this and you have a little like check mark if you didn't spend any money that day. And if you did spend money, if you're trying to like really keep track of that, maybe you actually write like a little dollar sign if you did spend money or maybe even how much you spent that day. So then you get a little like snapshot of where you're spending and see if there's a pattern, see if there is a consistent theme or like challenge yourself to go all month with no spending. Like that would be really hard. And I have not done that yet, but I really should. So there are things that you can do with tracking that if you have different financial goals. Number 12, we have tracking adventures or bucket list items, and you could do vacations or even weekend getaway goals. So, this is just a lot of different things you could do here. You could track them in your monthly spread again, like different goals of what you want to do. You could also go into those back pages to track and do a whole big creative layout of planning out different vacations you want to take that year, those weekend getaways. Maybe it's just like bucket list adventure where you don't actually have to take a vacation or anything like that, but maybe it's not around your local area and you want to go do that. Like, do you have, maybe you have rock climbing in your area. That is something that we have that I would absolutely love, but I would have to do it with I think I'd have to do it with my sisters because I don't know that Tony would would do rock climbing. But if that it was something that you want to do, maybe do a list of those types of adventurous items and track those in your planner and decide what you really want to focus on trying to accomplish this year. So that is something an idea that you can play with. Number 13, if you are somebody that likes to track your mood, maybe this is also related to those health notes that we were talking about with the cycle and the health note tracking. Maybe this is a good one to do is to track your mood, especially if you are dealing with a lot of health things. This is a good one to do. So then you again can get that bird's eye view of how it flowed through the whole year and to see if there are any like consistencies or themes that you are seeing with your moods or your mood changes and things like that. So, again, you could create a grid and do like a tracking system, like a little key code that is, something that you understand, and then track how your mood changes throughout the month. And then finally, number 14 is to track your workout routines. And again, this could be within your monthly spread, your weekly spread, even your daily spread, or it could be in those back pages where you're actually like building workout circuits and you can follow a list or you can just get ideas. So if you need to feel inspired on what to do when you're ready to work out, workout routines are right at your fingertips within your planner and you can do little goals and all sorts of fun stuff in there. And a little bonus tip, I didn't include this in here, but one of the ways that I get really inspired to be creative in these pages, it doesn't all just come naturally in my head. I love being creative and I love having the ability to take like some blank space and get creative with the washi tape and the stickers and the markers and all the things. However, I usually want to get inspiration from Pinterest. And if you go to Pinterest or even Google and search bullet journal and just type in whatever it is you want to track. And maybe you just want to do bullet journal ideas to start and then just get all different ideas. But if you're trying to like fill those back pages, especially, you can get some really cool ideas and inspiration from these bullet journals online. Like, say you want to track your cycle, go and type in bullet journal tracking cycles, and you'll get so many ideas. And then you can see which one resonates the most with you and you feel like would be the easiest to keep up with. And then try it and see how it goes. And the biggest thing is to make sure you are testing this out. And if it's not working, just tweak it and it's okay. There were a lot of months that I was trying to figure out the flow of how it worked best for me. So I liked to actually just track 1 month at a time. And every month I was kind of tracking different things. I was working on different habits and I realized that I couldn't have too many habits that I was working on at once because then I wasn't as consistent and I would get a little more overwhelmed. So I had to like minimize like what was the most important for me to be tracking and then focus on that. And then I was able to be really consistent. So that's just something like it's that testing and tweaking and making it work where we're not giving up, we're just adjusting things as we need to. So I will go back through those if you want to kind of recap what those are. And don't worry, I will go much quicker this time. So 14 things to track in your paper planner. Number one is your goals. This is your personal, business, marriage goals, or savings goals. And a quick note that if you want to go to the marriage goals episode, that is episode 45. Number two is dates. Number three is habits. Number four is your annual task list. Number five is projects. Number six is your cycle. Number seven is health notes. Number eight is a gratitude list or praise report. Number nine is books. Number 10 is meal plans. 11 is track your spending days or no spending days. 12 is adventures or bucket list items, vacations or weekend getaway goals. Number 13 is a mood tracker. And number 14 is workout routines. And then a little bonus of, I can't remember the bonus tip that I gave you before. But the other bonus was um, looking at the bullet journals online for inspiration. And then, as I mentioned earlier, if you want the same paper planner so that you don't have to go back and listen and try and find the information, is the Horatio printing.com, and it is the dream planner, and I use the lay flat vertical layout. The vertical layout makes a big difference if you're trying to do the day stacks like I do. I love it. And I personally get the plain black version, but they do have another version that is very pretty this year for 2025. And then use code Renae15. It's RENAE 15 for 15% off anything on their site. So I hope that was helpful for you and that you take this and you run with it and you get lots of inspiration and you get really prepared and excited for the year ahead. And I hope that you just have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you back here on Monday.